Good evening, everybody. Welcome to OSA Friday for Females. I'm here with Ellie. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So we're gonna get right to it. If any of you have questions, as always, please just leave the comments and Ellie and or I will respond after this wonderful interview. So, Ellie, you say that you are a residual income coach. Can you explain what that means and how you got into it?
Yes, absolutely. So what that means is that I show people ways that they can grow their income without having to add on more hours. So basically, a lot of us are used to, okay, you go to work, you get paid. If you're not at work, you don't get paid. And so I teach people how to scale their income so that you could be doing things like sleeping, like eating, like making dinner, and then you would still make a paycheck, which is great.
That is nice. You can just continue to do what you do day to day and make money. Who wouldn't want that, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. Is there examples of something you can give us as to like what would be, intriguing for somebody?
Sure, yeah. So actually, the business that I do is very simple. It is hair care, and I got interested in it not because I'm super into hair, but because it really helped some of my patients when I was an oncology nurse to grow their hair back after chemotherapy, which often we would see hair grow back really thin and have a lot of issues. And what I noticed is that when patients started using this brand of hair care products, their hair was looking really good. So I was really impressed by it. And I was also impressed by the idea that, oh, okay, if you can help someone, get started with this product line and they like it, it works well for them, they continue to order. You could be, sleeping and you've told a couple hundred people about it. They love it. You wake up and in the morning you have a paycheck, not because you were working all night, but because they ordered more of something that they love. So that is one area. There's a lot of different areas, so there's so much really that you can do. But as somebody who had worked as a nurse, I didn't even know that that was possible. So it's been really helpful for me and just great for my family's lifestyle because there is work involved. Of course, you have to be able to share it with people. You have to be able to provide great client service. You have to do all of those things, but it just creates a really cool model where people are continuously purchasing the product. I've also helped women who are interested in scaling their business. Maybe they do a coaching business, or maybe they do photography, and figured out ways that they can create a course or create a product, something that would be a residual income. Like, for example, an author, they write the book one time, but anytime somebody purchases that book, they will get paid from it. So,
No, I think that's neat. And I also like the fact that you help your oncology patients feel better about themselves with their hair. I think that's so cool, because they're already having such a hard time with self-image and just their health that to make them feel like, hey, it's okay, and to give them products that help them feel better about themselves, that's amazing.
yeah, it was really impactful to me. And the thing that I think people don't often realize is how much our hair can be tied to how we feel about ourselves.
Hmm.
It can be, sometimes our hair can show others that we have been sick, or show people something that we don't want to be reminded of. So it's been a really cool journey. And there's really, it's something that's so funny because I didn't expect it. I didn't grow up and say, "Oh, one day I want to sell shampoo." It became something that I love doing. So,
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, in addition to all of that, you also do a lot of videos, and I was wondering, can you give people some tips on how to create good videos and how to generate more views and likes and potential leads?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing that I do as well is I did start a business last year doing video coaching. So, I call myself a social media visibility coach, but I specifically focus in the area of live video. It's really how I've grown my business, it's how I've, been able to connect with so many different people. And the thing with live videos that people think that they have to wait to be perfect until they start. And I was on a all women's networking group today. We listened to a really awesome interview with Glennon Doyle, and she said that her biggest advice for anybody would be don't keep waiting for that perfect moment, because elephants don't sit around and say, well, I guess we'll start being elephants when we turn purple. Elephants are gray and humans are imperfect. And so there will be never a moment that you feel ready or that you're perfect. But when you can just start doing live videos consistently to share your life with people so that they can get to know you, that will really help grow your brand. That will help get you sales. That will help get you clients, because people can feel like they know you. And it's an amazing platform. It's free. We have it available to us. So why not use it and create something that can really add value to somebody? It's such a great way to get to know your audience. So my number one tip would be don't wait until you feel like you're ready. Just start doing it. And then my second tip would be, there's never going to be a time that you feel like you have something to say in particular. But if you commit to doing live videos, you'll figure out what to talk about. The content will come. So, if you're scared, like, I don't know, I don't have the content, well, just commit. I'm going to go live every Tuesday at 2. Well, all of a sudden you'll find yourself thinking of stuff to talk about, and it will only be because you committed first. So,
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I think a lot of people who are thinking of starting a business or who are on the beginning phases of it, it's always about action. You can't just like sit there and ponder like, oh, when do I start or do I have enough money? And it seems like, that correlates to the live videos as well. Like you're not just sitting there, you have to take action and then that's how you get better. It's taking the action, executing, and then as you go, you make it better.
yeah. And you'll learn what works and you'll learn what doesn't work, but it's really through trying and doing. It's not just thinking about it, because you can study it all you want, but until you actually go out and implement, oh, okay, this is what I'm doing. And I tell people, I teach courses and I tell people, consistency is what creates confidence. It's very simple. Confidence in anything comes from consistency. You don't wake up one day and know martial arts. You practice every single day the same moves, then you're confident, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of discipline. So,
Yeah, it does. It does take a lot of time and discipline and never giving up. I mean, that perseverance, I mean, it translates to every aspect of your life, It's not just in martial arts, having the discipline to wake up, look at your numbers, or having the discipline to get the clients or do those videos every Tuesday, even when you're tired, it's like, gotta do it because if you don't, it starts to break and then it's like, oh, I could give up on this day or that day, and then it never comes to fruition. So,
yeah. Sorry, you
um,
can probably hear my kids laughing, but it's a good sound. They're having fun. So,
it's all good as long as they're having fun. That's all that matters.
yeah.
um, how do you manage your time? Because I know your husband's in med school. You have, two young girls and your business, and you're doing all of these like live videos. You're empowering females. How do you do it?
Well, that's the thing, is I just make time for the stuff that I know is important to me. So I think for me, I used to make a lot of excuses with my time. I remember when my kids were young and I said, all of a sudden doing the things I used to do, it was a challenge, right? Getting my workout in, okay, that was a challenge. And so I kind of figured, well, I can't now. And then I met a woman who had like 7 kids and she was doing all these workouts and workout videos. And I'm like, huh, okay, well, if she can do it, maybe I can do it. And so that's one thing I love about just being in community with other women is you really see what's possible. You're like, oh, okay, you know what? Like, I can do something like this. And so for me, it's like, I don't really struggle with managing my time anymore, frankly, because like I said, I find time for what's important to me. You know, I'm disciplined with it. And I if there's a will, there's a way. If you want to do something, you'll figure out how to do it. So that's what I do. I have grace with myself. You know, it's like right before the interview, my kid fell down. I'm like, oh my gosh, but she's okay. And then you just have to kind of go with the flow, I guess, a little bit because
Yeah.
stuff will always come up, but you know, it'll all work out. So
Yeah, I mean, you have to have that positive mindset, and that's, what translates from what you're saying. Like, you be positive, you go with the flow, you're like water, to quote Bruce
yeah,
Lee, right? Be
yeah.
like water. So, I mean, that's great though that you're able to prioritize what you need to prioritize and do what you need to do and enjoy life. I mean, so, and you're empowering a lot of females. I see all the work you're doing, and it's great.
Thank you.
So, no, thank you. Um, what is one of your most memorable experiences?
Oh, okay, I have so many. Um, Let me think. You know, I would have to say something that was really impactful in my life was traveling out of the country. And I went to India in my early 20s, mid 20s, and it was very eye opening to me on so many levels. Um, I traveled through a lot of Southeast Asia, and India was such a culture shock. I had no idea that there's nothing that was like it. Okay, go. I'll come get you in a minute. That's my friend. No, I go in your room. Go in your room.
Part of the interview. There you go.
So it was very impactful to me, and I'll just never forget. I was away for 6 months throughout Southeast Asia. I'll never forget flying back to LA, and I went to out to a restaurant, a burger place, and I walked into the bathroom of the burger place. It was like a single, room, and I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, it was so clean. It was so big. I mean, it was like my eyes, I'm thinking a whole family could live in here, right? It was so big and so clean. And it just was such an eye opener to me and so shocking just to see that. And so, my memorable moment is an LA bathroom, but I'll just never forget that moment of just realizing there's so much that we tend to take for granted and that how different the different cultures and different worlds can be. So
No, you're right. I mean, and I think if people were to go to different countries, and come back, you'll see that great difference. For me, every time I go to India and come back, it's like the smell because
yes.
the pollution is so like, I mean, it's just so there. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just so present. And then when you come here, it's like, oh, I can breathe. Like you can take like that fresh of breath air in and it feels like, oh, it's clean. But over there, it's like the moment you go into the Delhi airport, you feel like that smog and that like collapse on your lungs because of the pollution. But it's not just India. I mean, you can go to a lot of different places and see like the culture and the difference in how people are brought up, and the way people handle different things. And no matter where you go, there's something you can learn from that country and still learn to be grateful for when you come back here.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, I mean, and even if people haven't traveled, I think you can always find moments of gratefulness in every day. So
Yes. Yeah.
it's important.
Yeah.
Um, who was or is your greatest inspiration?
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I love poetry. I always have. And my grandmother wrote beautiful poems, and she wrote very similar. One of her poets that she really looked up to is a woman named Mary Oliver, and her poetry is all nature inspired and very beautiful, very peaceful. And so I would have to say my grandma is very inspirational to me. She was a peace activist, and she was a Buddhist before I think anyone in my family really knew what that was.
Hmm.
She took me to see the Dalai Lama as well as Thich Nhat Hanh when I was quite
Wow.
young, a teenager. Yeah, and she would meditate and just was such a peaceful soul. And I think that she really inspired me and serves as inspiration to me because she wasn't afraid to follow her heart. She was very different from the rest of her whole family, but she just went her own way, and she really influenced the rest of our family too. You know, none of us knew anything about that, and she's touched our lives. You know, you can see now she's passed away, but you can see her influence in all of our family's lives. So,
That's so cool though. Like, even though you might be like the black sheep of the family, that one person can help you see things in a different point of view that most people, wouldn't be able to see if you just stick with what's the norm of the family. And if you follow constantly, this is what family says to do, therefore do it. But if you're the black sheep and you can convey like those theories or what your beliefs are and not offend anybody, it can be a great asset to make you kind of like look at it something from a different point of view or a different angle.
yeah. She shocked everybody, but in retrospect, we really appreciated her. So,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like the initial blow, it's always like shocking because it's like, you're challenging what everything and people love to stay in their comfort zone, and leaving that comfort zone it's not fun for most. And when a family member challenges that, it's like a shocker right then
yeah.
and there. So I could imagine that. Um, if someone was to write a book about you, what would the title be?
Uh, so this was funny because we were having dinner with my mom the other night, and she said, "Oh, sorry, I was only trying to help." And I said, "When you write a book about your life, it's going to be titled 'I was only trying to help.'"
Oh, good.
That'll be a good autobiography. So, oh my gosh. Well, I'm trying to think of for what my title would be called. Okay, so it's funny just because I've thought about this before and it's the only thing I can think of. So it's like my mind is kind of stuck on it because I've thought about writing a book before. My dad is just such an interesting character, and I have so many stories about him and things that he did and his travels and stuff. And he used to always say Lordy Lewis, like he would be like Lordy Lewis. I always thought I would name it Lordy Lewis because people might be curious to read it with a name like that. So,
Yeah, and it's funny too. So just by the name and making you laugh, it might entice somebody to be like, "Well, what is
what
it
is this
really about?"
about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What are 5 sales/marketing tips you can give to viewers?
Okay, so I've wrestled with this lately because sales is such a weird thing for me. Like, I look, I look back and I'm like, I'm good at sales because I wouldn't have the numbers that I do unless I'm good at it. But at the same time, I think I suck at it because I'm always like, yeah, I don't know, like, I just don't have that feeling that I ever want to convince anybody to do anything. So I would say the number one thing with sales is just be authentic and think of yourself as an educator first, right? It's not your job to convince anybody of anything, but just to educate them, maybe on your product, on your service, on the different options, and stick with that, not about convincing them of something. So I would say that number one. Number two is be passionate about your product service. Hey, can you go away? I'll be back. I'll come get you in a second. I'll come get you in a second. Really be passionate about it. I really do believe that certainty sells. So if you are certain in what you have to provide, that really, and I think that's probably why I have the sales, not because I have like this, oh, she's a salesperson, but because I'm very certain that I can help people. I am, if
Mhm.
they tell me their problem, I'm certain that I can help them with it. So that's number two. Number three is just have a tough mindset, because it is tough. Sometimes, you will find yourself in sticky situations. Somebody won't be 100% happy. You'll have to work with that. Somebody will, who knows, whatever. Everything can be up and down, right? But have the tough mindset of remembering your why, remembering, okay, this is why I started this business. This is why I do what I do. I'm going to do the very best I can. I'm going to show up with integrity. I'm going to be transparent. If I can't give someone that ultimate happy experience, I'm going to apologize, and then we'll move on. Um, and then I can think my last tip about sales is have fun. Try to
Mhm.
enjoy it, right? Try to have fun with it, whatever it is. It will help you so much if you can make it fun along the way.
No, I think those are some great tips. I really like it. And I like the fact that the first one was like it shouldn't be something that's forced, but something that's kind of natural to you and just speaking from your heart and stating what you really enjoy about what you do. And I think if that comes out, like people will sense that and then it's just more of a natural conversation versus like a forced sale.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the biggest thing is like I know that for me, I've purchased things when I know that the person has my best interests at heart, and that's always so helpful to know. And so, and at the end of the day, you just have to be authentic to you. I really don't like taking sales courses, because I'm like, I do the best I can. And I know I've gotten better at helping more people. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I never want to try to like become somebody that I'm not and be like, trying to sell everybody, because that's just not me. And I don't think it'll translate well. And it definitely won't be fun. So,
And if it's not fun, you're gonna get bored and then you're gonna stop. So my last question for the evening is what are your top characteristics of a good leader?
Oh, okay. So I was just listening to a podcast about this and I really liked it. So I think number one is so important to have humility. I find that the people who really are confident in who they are can have that humility. They can even, poke fun at themselves. They could either even have a little bit of, that, just that attitude of humility that don't I'm the top of this is like so crazy to me. It's like have that humility, be willing to learn from your followers too, be willing to not necessarily think you know it all. And my biggest thing that I love is a John Maxwell quote, and he teaches a lot on leadership and has written several books. I've gotten to see him speak quite a few times, and he said, leaders are people of value who value people and add value to them. And I thought that was so powerful, because that to me is a great leader. We value people, we are people of value, and we add value to people. So,
Yeah, I mean, I love that quote. I'm gonna have to read some of those books. But no, I really love like how you put it all together. And I think, you're right. Humility is super important. You can be this high, up and mighty person, but you have to always be willing to learn and empty that cup to fill it more and more. Because the moment you feel like you know everything, I like to say you know nothing then. Because if you feel like you know everything, you really don't know anything at all.
yeah.
Because there's
And
always room to learn.
we had that not to cut you off, but I just was going to say we had that experience, unfortunately, this past 4 years, with seeing somebody who is not did not have humility. He did not have humility as a skill. And so no matter what else he said, that's like nobody wants to be led by somebody who can't be humble and gracious and kind. And I think that that's just so important. And, it really, there's a lot of things that you can be remembered for. I would so much rather be remembered for humility and kindness than a lot of other things. So
Yeah. No, well, I really enjoyed speaking with you, Ellie, and thank you so much. I know you're in California. I hope you're enjoying your warm weather, but I appreciate you taking the time to meet up with us and share your insight. And if there's anyone else who's interested in Friday for Females, please shoot me a personal message. Have
thank
a
you.
great
This was so fun. I
no,
appreciate you.
of course. Have a great evening, everyone.